Welcome, fellow bookworms, to Tipper is Dead. My name is Whitney, and I have another Throwback Thursday for you guys. This one has kind of been a long time coming, but today we're going to be talking about the Heartland Series by Lauren Brooke. I have the first 15 books, and so I'm going to kind of be talking about those. I'm actually not going to talk about them individually. I'm just going to talk about the series as a whole, but I am going to show you each individual book, and that way you can kind of get an idea and kind of do like maybe a brief synopsis on it. But overall, I'm just going to be talking about the series as a whole. I'm not going to be breaking it down like I did for the Thoroughbred series. But before I get into it, if you could go ahead and give this video a like, it really does help out the channel. And then don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on a thing. Now let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to try to be as objective as I can when I'm talking about the series, but this series came into my life during a very difficult time, so I have a very strong connection to it, just because I know a lot of us read to escape, real life sometimes. And in this case, like I said, it was a very difficult time, and these books definitely allowed me to do that. But I think even that being said, I do think they have merit on their own, and I do think they're really well done. So the first book in the series is Coming Home, and in this first book, right away, Amy loses her mom. And so the whole series goes through Amy losing her mom and then deciding to continuing her work rescuing and helping horses, and then just kind of her journey during the aftermath of losing her mom and struggling to help these horses and keep their family farm running, essentially. So coming home, she loses her mom, and it's the immediate aftermath. And then you have After the Storm, which in this one, the reason she ends up losing her mom is they go out in a storm to rescue a horse. And so in this one, she ends up helping that horse. So then we have Breaking Free, which this one covers kind of her journey with her mom's horse Pegasus and that grief, which Pegasus was actually her dad's horse, but her dad left them after a show jumping accident when she was 3, and that's kind of how her mom ended up starting Heartland, is during the journey of healing Pegasus from his not only physical injuries but also his mental injuries from the accident as well. And so this is kind of dealing with Pegasus and his grief and such as well. So that's Breaking Free. And then number 4, we have Taking Chances. And this one kind of has some drama between her and Ty. And Ty is like the other main person that is helping, keep the farm running and helping treat these horses, with their behavioral problems and their traumas and such. And so she ends up, things kind of end up getting a little rocky with them. And she's going to have to kind of work through that as well. And then we have Come What May. And this one, she finds out her sister Lou, who ended up coming from New York to, help out with the farm, and then she ends up staying on. Lou decides she wants to reach out and try to contact their father. And so, that creates some problems because Amy doesn't have any interest in knowing their father at all. He left when she was 3, so she's never really known. She doesn't have any memories of him or anything like that. So that's Come What May, which is the 5th one. And then One Day You'll Know is book number 6. And in this one, Ty and Amy are really close, but they've always been friends, and now feelings are starting to develop. So that is that one. This one is one of my favorite covers and probably one of my favorites of the series as a whole, and it's called Out of the Darkness, which this is book 7. My nieces colored on it when they were little, and there's some pages that are colored as well. But in this one, you have this racehorse that was trapped in a fire, and Amy kind of starts to doubt herself because she's never worked with a horse with this amount of trauma or anything like that. and she's kind of having to figure it out. So I really really like this book. I love the cover, and it's a shame that my niece is colored on it. And then number 8, you have Thicker Than Water. And so in this one, Lou has managed to reach out to their father, and so they're kind of reconnecting essentially. So that again kind of creates some problems. And then number 9, you have Every New Day. And this one, Amy and Ty are kind of dating now, and they kind of disagree on how to treat this horse. And so Amy kind of ends up going on this spiritual journey with a Native American that her mom had gone to at one point. But it kind of creates, some tension there as well. So that's Every New Day. Number 10 is Tomorrow's Promise. And in this one, you have a new character that comes in named Daniel, and he actually ends up being kind of a prominent side character throughout, just like her friend Soraya and her friend Matt. And so Daniel is on the show jumping circuit, but he has a horse that's kind of ugly, but has a lot of talent. But because you have a lot of rich snobby people, they end up kind of looking down on him, and he comes, he's like from the other side of the tracks. He comes very poor, and this horse is all he has, where a lot of the other show jumpers are, they have money and they have the best horses and such, but he has an opportunity to work with as a working pupil with like a high up show jumper. And so, you know his mare has some like hormonal issues, so that's almost gonna ruin his chances, and other things happen as well. But that's Tomorrow's Promise, which is book 10. Book 11 is True Enough, and in this book, Amy's like arch nemesis essentially ends up kind of reaching out to her for help. So which Amy has to kind of put aside her feelings for this girl in order to help the horse. So you have that one. And then sooner or later, a horse comes to Amy that's not damaged or anything like that. I'm trying not to give too much away. So she's kind of having to decide, how much time she can devote to show jumping and competition, and how much time she can devote to Heartland, and where her loyalties essentially lie in this one. And then we have Darkest Hour. And in this one, this is one of my favorite books as well. This is number 13. And in this one, they end up having a flu epidemic, throughout the farm. And so they have to quarantine. And then a tornado hits, and something happens. A big accident happens because of that tornado. So we have that one. And then 14, Everything Changes. This is the aftermath of the tornado, and Amy is really struggling to kind of keep up with everything after the accident and everything that happens. The tornado sweeps through, and so she's just kind of really struggling and just having to kind of take it a day at a time and have faith that things will change for the better. And then the last one that I have is called Love is a Gift. And in this one, they actually end up going, their father lives in Australia. And so they end up going to visit him in Australia. He's visited once to their family farm in Virginia, and now they go to Australia. And again, kind of struggling to connect, and it causes some issues between Amy and Lou again. And so just kind of struggling to find her place, in her father's life and on his big ranch in Australia. So that is the last one I have. I'll leave the titles of all these down in the description below, along with the titles of the next 5 and probably the super editions as well. So that way, if you're interested in these books at all, it's easy for you to go and search them up and get them for yourself if you would like to. But that is the overall synopsis of each individual book. But the series as a whole really just follows Amy and how she's struggling to deal with the grief of losing her mother, and then also struggling to continue on her legacy, but also honor herself as well. Especially in the beginning, she's so focused on what would mom do that things don't always work out well for her because she's focusing on what her mom would do and not what she should do or what her instincts are telling her. And so it just kind of goes down the line, of her the years after losing her mom and how they are trying to first off save their family farm and then later on, just deal with like the workload and learning how to help these horses. And this series is very dramatic, but I don't know, there's kind of this realistic aspect, and I think one of the main reasons is part of the drama is just Amy's personality. Like she's very sensitive and so she does tend to, just kind of wear her heart out on her sleeve and just kind of take things to heart because she is very sensitive. And so I think that's part of what makes it realistic. It's not just drama for the sake of the book. It's kind of part of the main character's personality. And then also things aren't always happy. Like not all these books have happy endings. Whether there's several instances where they end up losing a horse. There's times where Amy cures the horse, but then she ends up having to say goodbye to it when she really rather not. And so it's not always a happy ending for everything. I mean, it's a happy ending in a sense, like not when the horses, pass away, but when she does have to say goodbye because she knows that she's helped the horse and she's finding it a loving home, but it's not the perfect cookie cutter ending that she would like. She would love to be able to keep these horses and enjoy them, even though she knows in her heart that's not always the best option. And so I really like that it's not always like the perfect ending, like the perfect ideal outcome for her. I really, really appreciate that. And I will say I'm kind of biased towards this um, just because of how the series came into my life. A couple days before my 14th birthday, 9/11 happened, and then the day before my birthday, we actually ended up leaving my stepfather. And so my family and I spent my birthday and months afterwards in a hotel. There were six of us, two of them under the age of two. So it was a rough time in my life, and these books really got me through that. I remember vividly laying on the hotel bed reading these books, having my own little corner of space in the room and just sitting there reading these books and just kind of blocking out everything else. So they definitely hold a special place in my heart, but I think they have merit on their own, without me putting any associations to them. I really think out of all the books, these are the best written, and I enjoy watching the television series that are based off these. Now, I will say the television series made a lot of changes, but I appreciate both of them, and I probably enjoy the television series just a little bit more. I think the changes they made work really well for the television series. It's more Western writing based and kind of that more ranchy feel than it is, English and jumping and such. But the essence is the same. You still have these horses that they're working to heal from traumas or fix behavioral issues or whatever the case may be. So the essence of the television series got it completely right. It's just little changes. Like Lou in the books grew up in England, where in the television series that's not the case. She does come down from New York, but she doesn't have that English accent. Their father's not across seas. He lives locally, or he ends up living locally. Um, and so, and just little changes like that. Like in this book, their father's remarried and has a new daughter. Where in the television series, that's not the case. And so, just little changes like that, and like the appearance of the people is different than what's described in the book. But I don't think those things are important as long as they get the essence right, which they completely did. And I appreciate, like, I love the book series, and I really enjoy the television series. I'm currently watching season 14 right now, and the current season is season 15. But of course, I watch it on Netflix, so it's a season behind. But I think the series, whether you're reading the book or watching the show, I do think it is a very, very good series. I think it has a lot of substance. And I'm kind of partial to looking at animals as individuals and really working to work with them and honor kind of their quirks and their idiosyncrasies and not just try to create like these little robot animals, whether that's horses or dogs or whatever. I'm kind of very, very partial to that kind of style of working with animals. And so I think that's another reason that I just really enjoy these books as well. And sometimes I will say, like, it is a little unrealistic as far as, like, timeline. Like, she'll have a horse for a couple days and start stressing out because she's not making any progress. Or, they'll have it for a week and her grandpa's like, well, why isn't it ready to go? Or, like, you're not making progress, that horse is dangerous, like you shouldn't work with it. And it's like these things take time. So I will say the timeline of the book is a little bit skewed. But other than that, I think the essence of it is really, really good. And I will say, like, in the middle of the series, when her and Ty kind of go from friends to boyfriend and girlfriend, it jumps from one book to the next, and you never see that moment where that kind of happens, because Amy is very much on the fence in one of the books, and she doesn't want things to change and ruin things and such, but we never see that moment where she decides to take that step, which I think is just an oversight, on the author's part. Like, she probably thought she had addressed that, and so in the next book, they're just now dating, where she never really addressed that. So there are a little bit of issues as far as like logic goes, but even so, I think this is a good series with a lot of substance. And I really, really appreciate the series as a whole. And you see struggles you have, Ty's mom struggles with depression. Um, and you see, Daniel and his struggles and how he hasn't had it easy. Um, and so it's not all perfect, which again, I really just appreciate. So definitely think this is a series worth it. Even if you're not necessarily into horses, um, I think it's something that could be enjoyable as well. Like, if you like horses but you're not completely horse crazy, I do think this is still an enjoyable series because it really has that family connection and that kind of personal development and such as well. Alright, so I think I'll go ahead and leave you guys here. I think I've been rambling long enough. Again, all the titles are down in the description below, as well as where you can find me other than on YouTube. I do have an Instagram and a TikTok. I don't really do a whole lot on either platform, but you can definitely find me over there. And then my email address and Goodreads is down there as well. I'll go ahead and leave you here. If you've read the series, definitely let me know down in the comments below, or if it's a series that you think you might be interested in, let me know. And if you just want to leave something, leave a little horse emoji. And I will see you guys next time. Happy reading. Bye.